Hi, everyone. All right, we're going to go through just a couple examples here of ways to give validating comments or ask probing questions through the lenses of both the standard that the candidate has chosen, as well as the connections within the architecture of accomplished teaching. So this example is through the standards lens, and it's how to give or an example of a validating comment. This is component 2 for a literacy candidate, a kindergarten teacher. This is the candidate's writing. The question was the instruction design implemented for this period of time successful in guiding the student to grow as a writer and to construct meaning through writing? Among many other things that were very thoughtful that the candidate had written, the candidate responded, at the beginning of the instructional period, Jay expressed his ideas through pictures with minimal to no written expressions of his ideas. He progressed through the stages of writing from the pictorial stage of writing, where he only drew pictures and could orally express what the picture meant, to the phonetic, where Jay spelled out words using the sounds that he heard within the words to further add meaning to his writing and support the pictures that expressed his writing. And to the transitional stage, where Jay used conventional spellings of words, including spaces between his words, and also used periods to signal the end of the statement. Looking at the standard that the candidate chose for which it to be read, Standard 7, writing, we see accomplished teachers are familiar with the stages and indicators of learners' writing development. They understand the concept of emergent writing and how it applies to English language learners as well as young children, and accomplished teachers can distinguish between the ways these two populations learn to write. For this teacher, I gave a validating comment. Here you show evidence of your understanding of the stages and indicators of writing development and directly apply them to Jay's growth as a writer. So this is an example of a validating comment, and it's based in the standard. I even pulled some language directly from the standard, as you see from the highlighted area. Okay, and now, reading through the standards lens, here's an example of a probing question. Cite evidence from student work sample number 2. How did you connect the reading and writing processes to help the student construct meaning through writing? Cite evidence from work sample 2. During this instructional period, I was able to connect the reading and writing process to help Jay construct meaning through writing by showing him books that were familiar to him that included examples of what his goals as a writer were. They were list books that were written with words that had spaces between and included punctuation. I asked him if he was able to read the words and sentences in the books that he read, and he responded yes. I explained that writers included these things to help their readers understand their writing, and that if he also wanted his readers to understand his writing, it was his job as a writer to include spaces between words and punctuation at the end of sentences. Therefore, it was through these mentor texts that Jay could see that the reading and writing were connected because as a reader himself, etc., etc. So this area that I chose from the standard was the section in the connections. In their writing instruction, accomplished teachers make connections between writing and other language arts, and they also teach students to use writing across the curriculum. Teachers understand the reciprocal nature of reading and writing. They engage students in rereading drafts of their own and their peers' writing, and teach students that an important aspect of revising writing is the careful and thoughtful rereading of their own work. So, the probing question that I gave based on that part of the standard was, besides mentor text, how else has your instruction guided students to connect the processes of reading and writing? So pushing towards some other ways that she might show that connection. For example, here, they engage students in rereading drafts of their own and their peers' writing. And so perhaps this is something that she did that she didn't articulate in her writing, and this might give her an opportunity. She doesn't know which section of the standard that I'm referencing, but that's the area that triggered me to ask that question. Okay, and now here's an example of some validating comments and some probing questions based on the connections within the architecture of accomplished teaching. This is the same teacher, the same kindergarten teacher with literacy. So the writings that the question was the instruction design implemented for this period of time successful in guiding the student to grow as a writer and to construct meaning from writing? The instruction design implemented for this instructional period of time was successful in guiding Jay to grow as a writer because his writing has evolved from mostly pictorial representations of his ideas to written words and sentences that support his ideas as seen in work sample 2. What had the biggest impact on his growth as a writer were mentor texts, peer modeling, and peer feedback. When Jay made the connection with the mentor text in his own writing and realized that another person would read his writing, or at a future time he might read his own writing, he understood that he had to construct meaning through his writing and therefore write for an audience. I link this to the analysis to reflection, which is step 5 on the architecture of accomplished teaching. And my validating comment was, here you are reflecting on how this lesson was successful in light of the teaching strategies utilized using concrete evidence from work sample 2. Now an example of a probing question based on the links between the architecture of accomplished teaching. What goals did you formulate for work sample 1? Jay's goals were to include spaces between words and end punctuation so that his reader could more easily and independently understand what Jay expressed through his writing. Describe the instruction plan to meet the newly formulated writing goals. What was the specific assignment that generated work sample 2? The instruction plan to meet Jay's new writing goals focused on list books. List books follow the same formula as a pattern book where students choose a topic and include things that fit in their topic. A list book about sports would read something like, I like football, I like basketball, I like swimming. I began instruction by having the students think of topics they knew a lot about, such as animals, cartoons, etc. Then they would list on their fingers all the things that belong to that topic. In 2 separate lessons, I modeled writing my list book sentences. The specific assignment that generated work sample 2 for the students was to choose a list book topic and write 3 pages that supported that topic using a sentence that stayed consistent throughout the page and also included a cover page. I found that this area that she was addressing was step 3, goals to instruction. I really noted this part of her writing. In 2 separate lessons, I modeled writing my list book sentences. And I asked the question, how does this instruction support the goals for Jay? So looking at that one section, how does that choice and that instruction she made support the goals? Just asking her to articulate further. Those are some examples of how you can give probing questions or validating comments based on the 2 lenses of the certificate area standards and the connections within the architecture of accomplished teaching. Go ahead and move forward to take a look at the packet for the resources as well as the quiz. Thank you. See you soon.